Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 4 of Tour of Suisse. Now, at 190 kilometers, just about 110 miles in length, the most interesting thing on today's stage, of course, is going to be the hard climb at about 18 kilometers to go, and it's going to caress at 15 kilometers to go, the last climb here in today's stage 4. This climb looks pretty hard on paper. When you look at it and you see it's just under 4 kilometers at about 7.5%, but then when we get into the race, we're going to find out that the last 3 kilometers about 8.5%. So hard climb and exposed. When the racing starts, there's only 3 riders up the road, and it's Jimmy Johnson from Alpecin Phoenix, Lotto Soudal's Holmes up front, and along with those two is Trek Segafredo, Marcus Holgaard. Now those 3 riders don't have much of a gap because back in the peloton, it's not the pure sprinter teams chasing, it's all the teams chasing that had those secondary sprinters here. Talking about Cofidis, Brian Coquard's teams up there. Brian Coquard had a good run for the money on yesterday's stage, getting second. Movistar's Alex Aramburo's team's on the front because they saw him at the front going for a shot at the stage out of the last corner of yesterday's Peter Sagan win, but of course got pulled off by the sweeper back there from Total Energies. Now, the other team chasing up front, EF Education, that's easy to see because it's Alberto Bettiol, who was second on stage 2 here at Tour of Suisse, but he thought he won that stage. Now, he was impressive. The EF Education team did a fabulous lead out on that stage 2, and Alberto Bettiol took it from the front to win that field sprint, but again, it was for second. It wasn't for the win. So you always got to ask yourself when it's not for the win, how hard are all the other sprinters trying? We don't really know the answer to that question at this point in time, but we know one thing's for sure. These smaller second-tier sprinter teams here, they want a shot at winning this stage, and they think they can get rid of all the pure sprinters in today's stage on that final climb, starting with about 18 kilometers to go on today's stage. Now, when we go up to that group of 3 on today's course, they're going by lakes after some more lakes. So if you ever love watching some lakes in bike racing, today's a fantastic day to be sitting on the couch because they're going by lakes multiple times throughout today's race. When they come to the final climb here on stage 4, there's not much of a gap back to the peloton. Now, the peloton was led mainly just by those 3 teams, like I said, but with about 35 kilometers to go, that's when we really started seeing the pressure back there from the peloton starting going curb to curb as all the GC teams are fighting for the last climb here on stage 4. This is always the MO at the professional level. It's always about 10 kilometers out before the final climb that the real push to that climb starts. That's when you start seeing everybody going curb to curb. At this point in time, it's not like yesterday's curb to curb with the sprinter teams where they're slowing the pace down. It's curb to curb now because everybody's fighting to start at the front for this final climb. Like I said, the last 3 kilometers of this final climb, 8.5%. So you know it's a tough climb. As the 3 riders up front enter the climb, right away they'll start falling apart, and it'll be Holmes, the Lotto Soudal rider, that's the last rider to stay off here at the group of 3, but he will get brought back from the Alpecin Phoenix train. Now the peloton's starting to fly fast, and it's Gianluca Brambilla from Trek Segafredo that gets a little bit of gap on the EF Education train, being led by Hugh Carthy. Hugh Carthy, they are working here for Alberto Bettiol, and they want a field sprint just like on stage 2, but they want the whole group together today for stage 4. Hugh Carthy setting a nice tempo up there. And then behind in the peloton, we start to see race leader Williams start struggling. He's in the race leader's yellow jersey, so he's hard to miss. He's got one teammate, Pernsteiner, with him. Now, they're still dropping time, and we'll go back up to the front because it's going to be UAE Team Emirates' Mark Hershey throwing in attack. It's covered quickly by Jakob Fogelstein from Israel Premier Tech. Now, when I'm sitting on the couch, I'm thinking, Hershey, what are you trying to do on today's stage? Because this is not a very intelligent tactic. If you look deeper, look beyond the cover, and you see UAE Team Emirates team, that Dago Ulysses. Ulysses is a fast man when you start talking about getting rid of the pure sprinters. Ulysses has a lot of big victories on his resume when you're talking about bringing that group down to a smaller size. And they also have Alessandro Covi, the Italian rider who's had a spectacular early season here in 2022. Got a little bit of his speed himself. So when I'm seeing Hershey attack at this point in time, sending out Rui Costa, the Portuguese rider that's also UAE Team Emirates, I can't figure out what his tactic is at this moment. Folks sitting at home on the couch, when you're going to go over the last KOM on a stage and you're racing for general classification, it's just downhill a little bit and then flat for the last 12 or so K to the finish. There's no way, if you're a GC favorite, that attacking at this point in time, you're going to make any damage for the general classification. If he had backed off a little bit, though, you could still have Dago Ulysses, who will find his way up to that front group eventually, but it's going to put a lot of hurt into the sprinter's legs there. And then, of course, Costa doesn't find his way back on, and Covey, the Italian rider, he can't find his way back on either. So when you look at this tactic here from Mark Hirschi, it's just saying knuckleheadism all over the place. You're isolating yourself. You're using up bullets that can be used on tomorrow's stage that's coming up. But you do have great form, but I don't think this is a good tactic right now at the time for Mark Hirschi. Now, Mark Hirschi's attack will get brought back because EF Education, they're not letting anything go on today's stage. We go back there to the Bahrain victorious group that has race leader Williams attached on. He's got 3 teammates in front of him. Eventually, Williams will panic. He knows those teammates might not be able to get him back on, and he's going to try to jump across with just about 500 meters to go and try to get himself back up to this front-led EF Education group on the last KOM here of stage 4. Now, just about 300 meters to go, we're going to see Bike Exchange Michael Matthews start coming out the back. If you look at the picture, he's got a gap to the group up front of the GC favorites along with EF Education, guys. And he's got his teammate Jack Bauer on the back of the group. Jack Bauer doesn't know his sprinter's back there. He should have stalled when Michael Matthews come off, and he should have been on his wheel directly at this point in time for Bike Exchange, because this is your only option. And it is a legit option to win here at stage 4 if Jack Bauer can come back for his teammate Michael Matthews. Now, race leader's jersey there, Williams, he blows past Michael Matthews, and he makes it up to the GC group in front just in time as they go over the KOM. Jack Bauer with about 200 meters to go. We'll see him look back, and he will at that point in time finally drop back for Michael Matthews, and those two will get back on. Over the top, going down the descent, it's Sebastian Rockenbach from FDJ that throws in attack. He's trying to go solo, but this is a no-no again because EF Education got 4 riders on the front. They all got power. It's Rigoberto Urán, Hugh Carthy, Nielsen Paulus is there, and Alberto Bettioli, the sprinter that almost won stage 2, he thought. He's attached on. So with 4 guys back there pulling, and Ineos Geraint Thomas back there, who you know will do some work because he's got Tom Pidcock, the fast British rider, behind him. So with EF Education there and Ineos pulling at this point in time, if you're solo rider up the front like FDJ, you got to believe you're going to get brought back. He does get brought back, in EF Education to start hammering on the pedals as the road flattens out and we come in with about 10 kilometers to go. EF Education still drilling it all the way in the front. With 2K to go, we're going to see Bike Exchange, Jack Bauer, and Michael Matthews locked together. Jack Bauer will pull up Michael Matthews with about 1 kilometer to go and drop off his sprinter somewhat near the front group being led by EF Education. Now, there was a little bit of an island there that was a little bit of a scare for Andreas Krohn wearing the youth jersey there that just missed the island. And as we come in with 1 kilometer to go, EF Education's on the front. Only problem is they got 3 guys left, and we got about 1 kilometer to go. At 800 meters, there's going to be a difficult turn. Kind of a right turn, switchback almost. A little bit more than 90 degrees and not quite a switchback. As they make it through that turn, EF Education, they only got 2 riders left. It's Nielsen Paulus on the front, trying to lead out Alberto Bettiol. On their wheels, Geraint Thomas, and then when we look back, it's Tom Pidcock. He's got a gap to his teammate's wheel up there. Geraint Thomas sprinting out of the corner, trying to close this gap back up to Geraint Thomas. Behind Tom Pidcock is going to be Movistar's Aaron Burrow. And behind Aaron Burrow is going to be Daryl Impey from Israel Premier Tech. And Michael Matthews is sitting about 7th wheel at this point in time. Now with 375 meters to go, just thereabouts anyways, Michael Matthews steps out because he's in 7th position. He needs to make up some places. Only problem is 375 meters is a long ways to start your sprint. If you're the Bike Exchange rider, Michael Matthews, he comes off of Daryl Impey's wheel on the right side, starts passing all the riders. Now up front with about 275 meters to go, Geraint Geraint Thomas will start his sprint. At this point in time, it's leaving no options for Alberto Bettiol, as at 250 meters to go, it's Alberto Bettiol that has to leave the wheel of Neilson Powless, who had done a fantastic lead out. But you got to remember, he started about 800 meters to go coming out of that last right turn here. That's just a straight road all the way to the finish here on stage 4. Now the legs have fallen off of Neilson Powless, and it's Alberto Bettiol that has to start his sprint. It's 250 meters to go. He's side by side with Geraint Thomas, and Tom Pidcock is locked behind with no place to go. Now behind, Michael Matthews is still out in the wind, being pushed out there by Alex Aramburu, and Daryl Impey now has started his sprint, and he's coming up fast. He's in the draft still of Alberto Bettiol, and Tom Pidcock, who's locked in positions, got no place to go. Michael Matthews all the way on the right. He realizes his mistake, because let me back the film up. He was on the wheel all ready to go at 375 meters to go when he panicked and jumped quite a bit early here on stage 4. But he was on the wheel of Daryl Impey. Now we fast forward to 150 meters to go. Daryl Impey is flying up the left side of the road. Michael Matthews has switched over from the right to the left, and now he's on the Israel Premier Tech rider's wheel. Daryl Impey's throwing down hard at about 100 meters to go. He's just about even there with EF Education's Alberto Bettiol, who looks like his legs are starting to drop here with just 100 meters to go. 75 meters in the race. Daryl Impey, Israel Premier Tech, has got a nudge just by a hair over EF Education's Alberto Bettiol. Michael Matthews, though, is coming fast from behind. At 50 meters to go, Alberto Bettiol's legs fall off and he drifts back. Now it's a two-way fight from the Bike Exchange rider of Michael Matthews, and up front it's Israel Premier Tech's Daryl Impey that's still in the lead. 25 meters to go. Daryl Impey still got it. 10 meters to go. 5 meters to go. He still got it, and he throws his bike as Michael Matthews throws his bike at the same time. Daryl Impey from Israel Premier Tech, though, will get his first win in a long, long time. I think you got to go back to 2019 at the Tour de France for Daryl Impey's win. But if you look at his resume, he's got a fabulous resume that has quite a bit of big results there with 2 stages of the Basque Country. He's won the Tour Down Under, the general classification, 2 times throughout his career. He's worn yellow at the Tour de France and won stages at the Tour de France, like I already told you. Michael Matthews, who stepped out in the wind for 375 meters to go. He was impressive on today's stage, but being out in the wind from 375 meters ago, you got to ask yourself, that is a bit too early right there for Michael Matthews to give him a 100% shot here at winning today's stage 4. Now, third on the stage back there is going to be Soren Kragh Andersen from DSM, who just kept gaining on everyone throughout the finish of this last 700 meters to the finish line here at stage 4. General classification, it's still Stephen Williams that holds yellow here, but there's a little bit of shuffle in the top 10 or 12 places as today's stage finishing moved guys around but didn't move their time. Geraint Thomas moved from 4th to 3rd on general classification, but still gained no time on Stephen Williams up front from Bahrain Victoria, still holding on to race leader's jersey by the skin of his teeth, just getting to the front group there as they crest the last KOM here on stage 4. Today's stage, a little bit of a sleeper through most of the stage, so if you got time, just go back and watch from 18 kilometers to go into the finish. Otherwise, everything before that, if you like lakes, then it's worth watching, but realistically back there, not much was happening here on stage 4 of Tour of Suisse. But at the finish, Daryl Impey, Israel Premier Tech, they needed these points here to stay in the World Tour standings, the most premier standings to be in at this level of European bike racing if you want to guarantee your spot of making the Tour de France and all the Grand Tours throughout the season. It was a great stage win. Congratulations, Daryl Impey. I haven't seen this for a long time, and I didn't expect it on today's stage. But your tactics were perfect here at the finish, and the bike throw at the end to make sure Michael Matthews couldn't nip you at today's stage 4 win was fantastic. Great job. Congratulations, Israel Premier Tech, who are sitting fine on the general classification with Jakob Fuglsang looking fantastic. And today's stage win with Daryl Impey is just going to help smooth the chemistry in the team, as now Israel Premier Tech are starting to win here in 2022 season. I'll see you guys on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect, which should be one of the most spectacular stages here at Tour of Suisse, with tomorrow's lumpy finish, super steep, hard climbs, all the way from about 80 kilometers to go to the finish of tomorrow's stage. I don't think it's going to quite be a stage for the breakaway riders, but if it is, they better gain a lot of time in the early part of tomorrow's stage, because once they get into that last 80 kilometers to go, we could see a big GC battle amongst all the favorites, And remember, here at Tour of Suisse, the teams aren't looking super strong. We're not talking about like Dauphiné, where you have Jumbo-Visma that can ride on the front all day long with a bunch of strong, talented guys in the climbs. So tomorrow's stage, anything can happen, and I hope to see a big GC battle. Might be the best stage here at Tour of Suisse to tune in for. Like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next edition.